Yo, what's up YouTube? Brody here again, and today I'm showing you guys how I mixed the song VENTI Iced Americano by WICCA Springs Eternal. This song, I'm so excited to share. I mixed this a while ago. Yeah, looking at the date, back in November. So it feels good to finally have it out and get to hear it on all kinds of systems and bump this. And I don't know, such a cool song, such a fun song to be a part of. And mixing this was really cool. So this song was self-produced by WICCA. I was sent all the stems for the beat, and then the vocals were done at a studio where they did a few cool recording techniques with the vocals. They recorded every vocal take 3 different ways. So each take has a recording with 2 different microphones, and then a third one where they reamped that take through a Fender Princeton with the spring reverb, so a guitar amp spring reverb and a little bit of gain to it. And it just was a really nice way to be able to mix through balancing parts versus adding plugins on, if that makes sense. I wound up using that amp spring reverb as one of the main reverb tones, and then I got to choose main vocals, doubles, etc., which mic to use. It gave me a lot of room to work with and really made this mix something special, I think. So I'll kind of go through all the different layers and show what's going on. We have the instrumental here. I'll go broad, then moving N. Got a little bit of JST clip, soft clipper. I'm not even turning it up. It's just there, preventing any peaks and adding a little color to the kicks in any loud moments. I have my Soothe 2 sidechain on. This is set to the vocal bus. That way, whenever vocals come in, it cuts out the frequencies right where that is. Only in the mids I have it set, if you can see. So, where are we at? Oh, I'm muting the vocals.
Somewhere in the
so you can kind of see here.
Hold on for ways to make them last.
So I think it's a really nice way to carve out some space for the vocals without removing from the beat. Probably sound like a broken record if you've watched my videos talking about this, but I do it so much to varying degrees depending on the song. But it really just I don't know, I love situational things like soothe, multiband compression, side chaining, things to make everything be as big as possible and kind of come in when it's their time to shine. So when the vocals come in, the beat dips back a little bit, but the second the vocals are gone, the beat's back in. Kind of more creative compression, I guess. So yeah, I have that. We go to our drum section. I'm running all of the drums through, again, soft clipper, decapitator, blended for a little bit of distortion. And then we have a limiter just catching peaks again. Nothing too crazy. On one of the kicks, I have a transient shaper to kind of get rid of some sustain. Got a respace going on here that is already sidechained from WICCA from their side of production. So yeah, these are all wet stems, which again is nice. I like working with that because it gives me instead of starting from scratch, if the artist is confident with the sounds and knows their sound selection is what they want for the song, working with wet stems can be a really nice way to just kind of hand off the mix and let me finish it versus completely redoing it. I feel it saves a lot of time of revisions and getting us on the same page because it's already established. Though the vocals I did get raw. Let's see here. Now we have a bunch of pads going on. One of the coolest things about WICCA songs and their productions, all the pads that are all the textures that are throughout all of the songs. Sounds so nice. Definitely something that I feel we both do to our music. Just the atmosphere of it is really important. So there's these Juno parts, left and right. Then through that same Princeton amp, a little more high end, a little more just like grit to it. Another Juno part, vocal pad, some other things going on. Got a piano that's going on here. Very verbed out, kind of like ghostly. A lead, saw lead, both through synth and the amp. So yeah, blending those dry synth tones with the amp tone to kind of get a balance of like clean to distorted. And yeah, those are all of the synth or all of the beat layers. I'll get into the meat of the vocals. So we have, let's see, I'll go through, instead of going broad and then N, whatever, I'll do the same. I'm kind of putting all the vocals through an SSL compressor. I love this as like glue. It's perfect like way to just make everything feel like it's together.
Further into midnight where the future turns to past.
I'm barely hitting it. I'm only giving it like 50%, but it takes it from a lot of vocal layers to the vocals, if that makes sense. Like it's the same thing, but they feel conjoined now. We got that, a little bit of EQ going on. Pultec EQ to kind of attenuate some of the low end to like, I do this trick. It's the common known trick, but you use the Pultec EQ, you boost and you attenuate the same amount, and then it kind of gives you like an exciting to it. Like I'm not adding more low end, but I'm adding more low end content, if that makes sense.
Lightning strikes the lake and
it just makes it sound thicker without actually taking up more space in the mix. The Soothe,
eternal twilight,
which kind of functions a little bit like a de-esser and a little bit like a just de-harshing thing. Like 4K is a really like picky area frequency wise, so it's taking care of that. Then some more EQ, some mid-side stuff I'm doing just to kind of make it sit where I want it to. Now we have the main vocals. Okay, so my decisions that I made here were that the main vocal was going to be this U195 microphone. And then I also have the amp going on for some reverb. I'll play them both. So here's the main vocal take.
and so it's come to find me. The shadow walks behind me.
And then here's the amp take behind it.
So it's come to find me. The shadow walks behind me.
Love that sound. And then for the doubles, I wound up using the other mic, the Coles mic. I found that it was a little less bright. It had a little more like mids, lows to it. So it made more sense for that to be the doubles mic. And it kind of separated it from the main vocal a little bit.
So it's come to find me. The shadow walks behind me.
And then I kind of gave it a little bit of saturation as well. For the harmonies and the like harmony doubles, I wound up using the U195
VENTI iced Americano
handout.
black.
Then
Lightning strikes the
these ones with the amp as well.
echo past.
So yeah, a lot of the mixing, the first stage of the mixing, we're just deciding which parts to keep, which parts to not keep. And like what should have the extra reverb, what shouldn't. So yeah, that was the arrangement of all of the vocal stems that was sent. And now I guess I can go through my like chain for the vocals, because it's essentially the same, sans a few things on a lot of these. Some of the doubles don't have compression and whatnot, but we'll go through. So the main vocal take, I'm using a CL1B. I love this. It's like what is it? A very popular chain for pop vocals is the Neve 1073 preamp into this TubeTech CL1B. It's just a very warm, very responsive, yet natural sounding compressor.
Hold on for ways to make them last. Romance is in motion. The diamond my hands hold it. White light off the ocean.
It just sounds so clear, so defined. And I only have, it's like a 5-to-1 ratio. Fast attack and release, but it doesn't sound as like extreme as if I used like an 1176. I experimented with using the LA2A after. That's a popular choice for that same kind of sound. But I found that with these Wicca Phase songs, like I didn't want to overcompress the vocals too much. If it's a heavier song, maybe, but this one needed to be natural. It needed to breathe. And I feel like a little bit less compression was counteracted by like how hard I hit the master in this one, if that makes sense. Like I didn't do the final masters for these. Will Yip mastered these songs, but at least like my mix bus going into mastering, I specifically wanted these to have like the submix, have the feel of like a harder rap song, even though they aren't. Like the song itself isn't, but all of the sounds are. So I thought it made sense to kind of make it a little more punchy, harder hitting, aggressive, even though the song isn't that. Like a cool juxtaposition that I think is part of what makes Wicca Phase as an artist cool. So trying to take those things that I like about the artist and apply them to the mix, I thought was fun. So yeah, less compression, a little more raw take, but then the whole mix itself a little more compressed, but like the individual parts within it weren't. But yeah, we have tangent aside. Okay, we got the CL1B. Before that, I have a little bit of multiband compression. Not doing anything too crazy. But his voice is a little bit lower, so I wanted to have these notes here to grab any like resonant low notes that get too much. And then 1 to 2K just can be an area that sometimes when you start to project, it gets a little more like upfront, like especially if you're like switching to like from where you're singing as your range changes. So I kind of have all those going to catch parts.
Lightning strikes the lake.
After that, some EQ, nothing crazy. De-esser, Aphex Vintage Exciter, kind of giving some more brightness, kind of counteracting some of the de-essing that I'm doing. Radiator again, shout out Radiator, shout out Sound Toys. The lead vocal clarity preset, I love. It's on micro shift. I'll usually turn it on and then turn the mix down a little bit. And I feel like it's a very transparent sounding doubler. So it's very mono here. And now there's a little more wideness to it. It does the same as like an ambience reverb or something where it like takes it from the vocals to you are in the room with the singer. And I think it just adds some realism to it. A little more de-esser at the end. And then a little bit of soothe too.
Dark remembrance more.
So kind of honestly not too much going on. I know that's a lot of plugins, but they're all just doing a little bit. And then aside from the amp reverb that I'm using, I do have some like space in my sends. I have an Echo Boy for a delay. It's just like a ping pong left, right.
Morning air.
Oh, this one actually, no, I lied. This one's not that. This one is a kind of slap back effect. It's just adding a little bit of wideness left and right. That's it, soloed with everything. Just adding a little more stereo width with the vocal parts. And then we have, this is the ping pong delay I was talking about, with a little bit of reverb after it. I find that sometimes a dry delay is a little too upfront, and adding reverb to the delay itself kind of brings it farther behind the vocal. Like I wanted a lot of space in this, but I didn't want any. I wanted everything to be behind. Like I wanted it to sound like very cavernous, but like again juxtapositions. Like you are close to the singer, but in a very large space.
Americano blood.
Kind of goes to that like surrealness that a lot of Wicca Phase songs have. I wanted the vocal sound to have that same level to it. So yeah, we got that going on. Doubles are more dry. There's no sends.
In the nights of future past.
I lied. I got a little bit of that subtly. I just couldn't get that. But yeah, there's no. I have the multiband compression on the doubles, but that's it. No CL1B on that. On the harmonies, same, uncompressed. The high harmonies, that's what I compress because they're pushing a lot more. So it made more sense to give them a little more compression. And then, yeah, that all gets summed into the bus that I already went through. Then we got our master chain here, which I guess I can skim through, kind of talk about. I use essentially this master chain in all of my masters. Again, this wasn't the final master. I exported it without my limiters, kept all of my color to it for Willie Yip to master, but yeah, I typically use the same chain, just change some settings depending on the song. But I used Kramer tape as like a tape emulation, going into a Waves Fairchild. I only usually get like 1 dB, if that, of gain reduction on it. Yeah, see, that's barely moving. But something about the sound of the Fairchild really, it like really focuses and brings forward the upper mids and like the middle of your mix. Like if I A/B this, it's kind of crazy how different it is. So then lightning strikes the lake and heart. Like of course there's like a slight volume boost to it, but it's just like focusing the mids, bringing where the vocals would sit a little bit forward, and I find that like really helps a lot. I know a lot of people mix through a Fairchild, and a lot of people that mix through a Fairchild say that in order to do it well, you kind of have to mix through it instead of applying it after. So I work top down a lot, so my mastering chain is usually on the whole time I'm working, and I feel like for me this has become like a lot of my sound is the Fairchild, like while mixing through it. After that, we have Isotope. Nothing too crazy. I have a little bit of dynamic EQ, just things mellowing the top end a little bit when it needs it. A little bit of stereo widening, a little bit of vintage tape emulation, and a little bit of a tube limiter. Go into another EQ. Very subtle soothe. Just kind of softening. Oxford Inflator is a really nice wave shaper, clipper, kind of like sound goodizer type plugin. It has the orange on it because my internet is down right now, so I can't open it, but I highly recommend that plugin. It sounds awesome. It just kind of gives a little more body to your songs. And if you're doing something like this that you want to kind of clip and add a little more drive to, it's a really good thing for that. Then we have Pro L2, my last limiter. And I use WLM Plus to monitor my mix, kind of like make sure I'm hitting the LUFS range that I want. And I have it set to always give me a minus 0.1 dB on my master, so I just have that little bit of security. Hold on for a louder part so you can see where I'm hitting.
Oh Lord, I mean, it's less of a whole, more of a part, you know.
So yeah, that's it. That is how I mixed and mastered Venti Iced Americano by WICCA. Love this song. Love how it turned out. If you've come here through this song, awesome. If you haven't, definitely go check it out. Love this. Love working with WICCA. Really an awesome time. Awesome opportunity to make this song sound awesome. Not that it already wasn't, but I don't know. I love mixing. I love mixing great songs and just getting to spend my time taking something cool and just like having fun with making it as even cooler. I don't know. I love mixing. One of my favorite things to do, and I'm happy to get cool opportunities like this through it. Yeah, I went through a lot here, so if there's anything that I didn't cover or didn't cover in enough detail and you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment here, message me on like Instagram, Discord, Twitter, anything like that. I'm always around. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and peace out.